Let's see. Did anybody get a chance to watch the Destiny stuff this morning?
Negative.
Boy, I don't know. I don't know where to start with this.
I read the kind of short version
Okay,
of
the blog
what
post they put up.
Yeah, I read that thing, and
There's a lot here.
I think the thing that all this folds back into for me is, the stuff we have heard over the years about how working on Destiny is kind of a pain in the ass because of the tools or how long it takes certain things to render or how long it takes for them to build a version of the game, and just the idea of just like, well, I need to push this button and then leave the office and come back in the morning and we can see what happened. Oh wait, I fucked up config. Oh wait, no, now we need to wait another 8 hours or something to see this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still like that. I don't, it's like, but it's like I feel like we've heard enough stories about just the process of working on that game.
I mean, we've been hearing that for years, but
yeah,
they practically come out and say that in this blog post they put up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even feel like this should be the biggest news because they just announced 3 years worth of expansions today. And yet I feel like the thing everybody's talking about is the fact that they're removing all this old content.
Well, I think that speaks to just like the quality of the expansions they've put out. That like, okay, sure. Like, I don't know that I don't know what I paid for or didn't pay for with Destiny 2 at this point. Like at the different seasons they've done. The last time I played it, I ran to, I think it's a giant sundial.
Okay.
And then a guy started talking to me, and then something broke and he stopped talking. And then it didn't tell me what to do next. And it never changed from that. So I ran back. I would log out, log back in, run back to that place. And it seemed like there was never anything that said, hey, here's what you're supposed to do next. And so I completely like my ability to move forward completely broke.
I think that is exactly where I stopped the last time I played that game as well.
Yeah. And I don't know what I missed in the dialogue that got cut off. Maybe it was him saying like, you need to go to this other planet and do a thing. But I just don't know. And so I just have barely touched that game since then, and I hadn't touched it a ton since before that.
Yeah.
So like them getting out there and saying like, hey, we've got more new Destiny expansions. I don't think I played the last couple. I don't even like or seasons.
Well,
or seasons expansions.
Yes, no, that's one of the distinctions to make is like they are basically doing one expansion a year and then like 3 other Well, so there will be a new season that starts along with an expansion. So there are 4 seasons a year, I guess, is the way to look at it, right?
Okay.
And one of those will have a big like actual content expansion associated with it.
Okay, and the rest will be
and
like
the others are
hey,
just
we added some smaller things and
and so the pattern I've fallen into is basically play that expansion season and have a good time with it, and then immediately fall off of the off seasons,
right?
Because those are much more just like here's some repeatable activities to help you chase guns and armor, and like that's okay, but I need more than that out of that game.
And announcing that seems to be the cadence that they're going to stick with. Like that doesn't sound amazing.
Yeah. So they announced this fall's expansion is called Beyond Light, but then they went ahead and also announced next year's expansion and the one after that.
Yeah.
Wow. So next year, what's that?
I was just about to say with the taking out content stuff before we moved on to the further stuff. The only concern I have is like I'm somebody who played all of Vanilla Destiny 2. And then like a teensy bit of that expansion. And this kind of makes me worry about diving back in because like I could probably hit the ground on Earth and remember kind of exactly the loops of the quests and stuff. And then like now it seems like I would have to come in and theoretically learn new levels like while juggling with here's all the shit they changed. Like I remember my first time back to Destiny 2 after they added stuff is like they had completely reworked like the quest screen and everything, and just learning that alone took a lot of time.
I think Luke said in the stream this morning they're reworking that quest screen again.
Great.
It needs to be reworked.
It does. It definitely needs it.
Like the thing they made was better than what it was before, but still not good. Like
impossible to understand what was going on without talking to somebody.
Yeah. And I think that's yeah, man. I don't know that that bit of news fixes anything. I think my thing about content coming out of the game is that right now it's a lot of content that I haven't played. And so instead of this like, hey, I can come back to this game at any time and try to catch up on all this content I missed and there'd be a ton of new stuff waiting for me. Like the idea that just like, oh, actually, no, we're totally going to take that stuff away. Then it's that feeling of like, well, I guess I'm never going to play it then. And maybe you'll take it out of the vault someday and maybe I'll try it then.
Yeah, so I should just briefly explain what they're actually doing. And like at the top of this, I said like it's weird that we're talking about them taking out content over the content that they say they're adding, but they themselves start this blog post off talking about the content coming out.
Yeah.
Like literally the first line of this is Destiny 2 is too large to efficiently update and maintain. The size and complexity of the game are also contributing to more bugs and less innovation. They give a bunch more explanation that all leads up to the creation of what they're calling the Destiny Content Vault. And what that means is that as of this fall, let me find the list here. Gosh, I'm trying to. Oh, I've lost it here. Here it is. As of this fall, when the new expansion comes out, Mars, Io, Titan, Mercury, and Leviathan, which is that raid that we did, and all the activities associated with those locations will be going into the vault and will no longer be playable. So,
isn't that like 2/3 of Destiny 2 today? Isn't it like
it's about
like location wise?
They've added enough locations that I'd say that's I could count. That's about half from the looks of this.
Okay.
There will be 7 locations still in the game. One of which is the Cosmodrome from the original game, which they refer to as unvaulted. They will be unvaulting the Cosmodrome. And to be fair, I can't wait to go run around the Cosmodrome. I miss the Cosmodrome. It's a fun location.
If long term this paves the way for them to make content that is better, then sure. I think Destiny 2, when it's good, it's great. And if that's actually true of like, hey, the having to maintain all of this shit and make sure it all still works from patch to patch takes up so much time and resources that they can't make cool shit, then fucking throw it out and make cooler shit. But also this is like them kind of low key admitting that like, hey, the content we've been doing for the past couple of years, like it's not that great. So we're gonna, so we want to make better content. We need to get rid of this shit. Like that's a weird. It's a weird thing too.
I will say some of that content associated with like Mars and Mercury, like those were the weakest expansions of Destiny 2 so far. So if you didn't play those, you're not missing that much.
Good art.
Yeah, some great locations.
Spots,
like Mercury looks cool as fuck, man. It's like it's right next to the sun, man. It's a neat place to be. But but there will be a new location this fall with that new expansion, and the Cosmodrome will be coming back, so that it's not like the game's going to be empty. Like I said, this fall's expansion is Beyond Light. Next year will be the Witch Queen, which is Savathun, the sister of Oryx. If that means anything to you. And then the 2022 expansion will be called Lightfall, which like I you know what, I have to admire their audacity at some point for just coming out and being like, here's the name of the thing we're putting out 2 years from now. Which I'm sure they have barely started.
There's not going to be a 2022.
Yes. Like I said, pretty audacious.
Do you think they're ever going to just drop the 2 and call it Destiny?
I think they should do exactly that. But they do say
I always felt that the thing that they needed to do and able to do that would be to put Destiny 1 into Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Like story wise.
I agree.
They do say that they're going to rework the intro to the game. As part of putting the Cosmodrome back in, that they will have like a new story that goes with that to kind of open the game, which now that it's a free-to-play game, they have to consider what does the onboarding look like and all that other stuff. Yeah. So
I should mention
that's probably pretty smart.
A couple of points there. All the content associated with the Cosmodrome is coming back. So like all those strikes from the first game, the Vault of Glass, which is like some would say probably still the best raid.
And no one on PC's ever played it,
right?
And I bet there's a huge percentage of Destiny players that have never seen the Vault of Glass. So that's cool. That makes sense.
And they mentioned like
they're very obviously not coming out with Destiny 3 anytime.
No, they straight up say at the top of this blog post, instead of building a Destiny 3 and leaving D2 behind, each year we're going to cycle older, less actively played content out of the live game. Blah blah blah. So just making room for new stuff is basically the way they're pitching it.
I think like I guess I think of it in terms of like if they were to make Destiny 3, they would have an opportunity to do a clean break and build it all over again and build it right in a way that was like optimal for their teams to work on it and maintain it and fix some of those problems that way, like whether they've got tech debt or whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
But if they can do that in place while still it being Destiny 2, like I guess whatever.
Yeah, I mean they basically said like, hey, if we were to make a Destiny 3, then Destiny 2 would have to go dark for like 3 years. Like we could not support this game anymore if we were going to turn our attention as a studio to making a third game.
That makes sense.
Yeah. They didn't really come out and say it, but there's a ton of teases in here about, like, the pyramid ships are there, the darkness. Like, they didn't come out and say, hey, there's going to be factions or anything like that, but there is a fourth elemental power coming on top of the, the Arc Void Solar framework. There's a fourth one of those, and it's kind of...
Ice.
Sure.
I'm just trying to think what they don't have.
The darkness.
Yeah, I think it did. Kind of the implication was it was some kind of darkness-based thing. I mean, no, like the name Beyond Light kind of makes it sound like
Lightfall,
sure.
like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Void.
there's been the rumors about there being some kind of like Horde Alliance style faction split kind of thing for a long time.
The story, like the last chunk of story stuff that I played, certainly ended that way.
Yeah.
In terms of like, it really felt like it was pointing towards like, hey, maybe you could be a Dark Guardian or something like that.
Yes. And they talked about next generation a little bit. They'd said the PS5 Series X versions will run at 4K 60. Anything you have bought up to that point will come over to the new consoles in terms of content. And they will have cross-generation play. So PS4 and 5 can play together.
You always heard about like, oh, Destiny kind of got screwed over by virtue of having to run on old consoles.
Right.
And when they finally broke that compatibility, it was very much like, this lets us make a more ambitious game. And this just seems like they're falling into that same trap again,
Yeah,
right?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to say though, when I first heard this news, I feel like my initial, like the vaulting of the content and stuff, my initial reaction was like, if I were Google, if I was a Phil Harrison, I would be on the phone with them going like, what's it going to take for us to have Destiny 2 the complete experience on Stadia, because there's no hard drive install space, and we can they can market around that and just say like, we've got the full version of Destiny 2, you can't get anywhere else, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably a lot. I don't know. Some of that stuff sounds interesting. Some of it's a little weird, but new season starts today. There's some new content. Like there's a new dungeon coming out tonight that looks pretty awesome.
I pulled a 3 gig patch right before the show started.
3 gigabytes of new dungeon.
That's right.
It's exciting. I might jump in there tonight. I might just get in there and see what's.
If there's new Destiny stuff,
Yeah.
I will look at new Destiny stuff. I mean, hell, I logged in over the weekend to watch a small dent get knocked into the tower when all of the leaks were about it being way more substantial than that.
Yes. Well, not even leaks. Like they were out there teasing it. Like Bungie people were out there on Twitter
but
saying,
it was also
hey,
like
check this
someone
out.
had like clipped into a fucked up version of the tower by
Oh.
mistake, and it was like seemed like it was the leaks made it sound like it was devastated.
Yeah.
And so whatever. Maybe there's something else coming there, but like the idea of just like here's a hole and you can get an emblem out of it was like great. This is a fun 90 minutes. Whatever, that thing looked neat.
It was cool. It was like a nice, they're the best in the industry skyboxes. Like that was a nice looking.
I feel like Bungie building an event around staring at their skyboxes is like a play to your strengths move,
very on
in
brand.
a way that no one could have ever anticipated.
Totally. But I mean, I know we talked about it on Discord this weekend, but like, if they had not told anybody that thing was happening, and like people who happened to be in the game just caught wind of it and started posting screenshots on Twitter of it, going like, "What the fuck is going on in the sky over the tower? What is happening? Like, there's these laser beams out of nowhere, like."
Yeah,
it probably would have gotten people talking in like a cool, mystified, like, what the hell is that kind of way.
And the story built up to that of just like, hey, this ship is trying to crash into the tower.
Yeah.
Like this is Warmind's going to try to stop it because of the things you did. Like, people would know, hey, this is going to happen eventually, so they would at least have that story context to it.
And like, I get that they want people to see the work they put into the cool thing they did, and like the thing they did was cool, but maybe not to the level of the kind of amount of promotion it got.
Well, having it get out there and then having people immediately turn it into, and I don't know that they necessarily did this.
Yeah.
I didn't quite see how they hyped it up versus how people took the news. But having people go like, "Oh, this is Destiny's first attempt at a Fortnite style live event."
That's probably where it actually broke, is people talking like it was going to be the Fortnite thing.
And it's super not that.
Yeah.
It was like a cool, peaceful little thing that is in some weird ways like it was very fitting for Destiny. It was a very Destiny take on the live event.
Totally.
But having it be like, hey, occasionally some foreboding music is going to play while you stare at the sky was a little long.
Yeah, I mean, what Fortnite is doing casts a large shadow over any sort of like live event. Not that they were trying to be like, hey, we've got this, giant thing coming, but people have really high expectations right now for like live events in games.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. yeah, if you want to check out the new season, I mean, today's a good day. Today is the first day, so be getting in on the ground floor with their battle pass and all that stuff.